Hey, hey.
What's up?
I feel like it's been months since we've recorded.
It feels like it's been months. How are you, stranger?
I'm good. Live and well.
Alive and live. Hey, everybody. It's another week of Case Files with Kat.
And Ashley.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Little technical difficulties, of course.
Always.
Just when the wizard is out of town. I said send gummies. If you go out of town, send gummies. So what's going on? How's your week?
I don't have anything to say other than it's just been a tiring week. And it's only Tuesday.
I'm old officially. I'm in my progressives era.
Oh no.
I'm switching to the progressives lenses. Woo.
Wow.
I know.
I'm just at that stage where I'm like old. Like I don't want people on my lawn. I don't like listening to music. I'm always cold.
Always.
Which is weird for me.
That is weird.
So I'm always cold now.
I'm freezing right now. I just want you to know. I'm freezing. I went to go let me put up the heater a little.
I just want to sit in my home and watch Supermarket Sweep and The Price is Right.
Oh my God.
That's what I do.
I am all about it.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. Right now, I'm binge watching.
The old ones, not the new ones, but go on. Anyways.
Right now, I'm binge watching What We Do in the Shadows.
I love that show. I've just been working from home and watching Supermarket Sweep.
I love that. I love that.
With my dogs. That's where my life is at this point in time.
So on that note, let's talk about some true crime.
Okay.
Glad to be back, everybody.
Yes.
Sorry we've been away. It's been, life.
My brain is fried. So when you ask me questions about what I've been doing for the past couple weeks, I couldn't.
Your little supermarket sweep.
When you hear the beep, just think of the fun you can have on Supermarket Sweep. I want to go on the show so bad, guys. If someone wants to be my partner on the show, let me know. We can go on the new one. It sucks, but we'll still be on it. So.
I love it. Someone make it happen. Okay. What you got for
us? Supermarket Sweep. Okay, sorry. I'm done talking about Supermarket Sweep. Though a supermarket does come into play in my story.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay, so this was the story that was submitted to us from Jillian from our website. She mentioned that she was kind of familiar with this case as she was friends with some of the people that were involved. And she sent me this YouTube video. And when she told me that I was going to go down this rabbit hole, boy, I went down a rabbit hole. I watched the video she sent. I watched 2020 episodes.
Okay.
I looked at probably 15 different articles online. I watched a documentary. I watched just all these true crime episodes about this. It is.
Now you know too much.
I don't know anything. That's the crazy thing about this case.
Ooh, okay.
I don't get it. When I read it to you and I talk about it, people be like, what the fuck? How does that even happen? So anyways, I'm going to get into it. And so I hope that I do this story justice because I told her, I already messaged her. I was like, hey, I'm doing your story this week. And she's like, oh, we're all going to listen to it. I was like, no pressure. Great.
No pressure. Get out those pens and pencils, kids.
I know. I feel like I'm going to forget something major or report something wrong. But I really tried to make sure that I had everything accurate and that I didn't leave any important parts out of the story. I did have to leave some out because I'm at 4,000 words already and not even the whole story.
So if there's something that needs to be put in, obviously if you know the story, let us know. We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, I'll record a little.
No worries.
Snippet.
Yeah, we'll do something.
Okay, so again, I'm going to try to do the story justice. I'm talking about the disappearance of 17-year-old Brian Carrick from 2002. So he was born September 13th, 1985 in Johnsburg, Illinois. He was a junior at Johnsburg High School and was described as being very well behaved, being family oriented. He was one of 14 siblings.
Whoa.
Yeah. He stocked shelves at Val's Foods, which was a grocery store, and it was located literally right across the street from his home. You could see it from his home. And so it was the only grocery store in Johnsburg in Johnsburg. And at the time of his disappearance,
Wait, what state is this in?
Illinois.
Illinois. Okay, sorry.
So at the time of his disappearance, he was 5'9" and weighed 135 pounds. So, he wasn't like a big guy. He was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so he's the type of guy, felt like he owned the place himself, former Val's Foods manager, Eugene Cesario. I'm saying the name wrong, guys. I listened to it 700 times. Whose father was one of the owners. He said, he'd come in and start bagging groceries on his day off if he saw that a line was backed up. He was just that kind of guy.
Oh.
So, he would come in on his day off. He loved his job. Okay, so Val Foods co-owner Jerry Cesario said that Carrick was like a son to him.
Could it be Cicero?
Cesario is how I think.
Okay.
They're Italian. So
Well,
the Carricks and the
Cicero is Italian too.
Cesario.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I apologize to everyone in Jonesburg right now. Jonesburg. I don't know why I keep saying Bergs. Jonesburg. Jesus. I'm just going to start over. So, guys, I really love Supermarket Sweet. And I'm just kidding. Okay.
I got you a beer if you want.
I don't know if that would help.
It's a blueberry
Okay.
something.
Okay. Okay. All right. The Carricks and the Cesarios were two of the most well-known families in Johnsburg, and they had known each other for 20 years. Almost half of Brian's siblings had worked at Val's Foods over the time. They were really good friends. He literally thought, the owner thought of Brian as a son.
Oh.
So I think 8 of them worked at the store. They used to love coming to the store because my father used to measure them when they would come in, said Julia. She was one of Jerry's daughters, and she said, they would come in and he would treat them all like family, all of them, not just Brian. So Italian immigrants Jerry and Maria met and married in the United States and realizing their American dream when they joined with relatives to buy Val's Foods. So Mario Cesario, then 19, was the youngest of Jerry's 4 children, and he was planning to take over the family business. He was a stock boy like Brian. So one night, it was a Friday night, Brian vanished from inside Val's Foods. He had worked. It was just 5 days before Christmas. It was 2002. Between 4 and 4:30 on December 20th, Brian left his home to go to Val's Foods
In the morning?
in the afternoon.
Okay.
And cash his paycheck. He returned home with pizza and a soda, but left again between 6:30 and 7 and was seen by multiple employees, including his brother Eddie, who was a stock boy at Val's Foods at various times that evening. Brian was looking for one of his coworkers, Robert Render. It was alleged that Robert had owed him some money for drugs, but also Brian had claimed he wanted to ask Robert if he would switch shifts with him in the upcoming days. So Eddie, his brother, said he never saw his brother come out of the store, but he thought he just missed him. It wasn't until the next day when Brian's mother received a phone call that Brian hadn't shown up for his shift, which was highly unusual for him. She knew something wasn't right because he's not that kind of kid. He comes home, he checks in right across the street. He wouldn't miss his job. And so she knew something wasn't right. Within days, the whole town of Johnsburg was rallying around the family. Crime wasn't common here. People certainly didn't go missing. It was a small, tight-knit type community. Supporters were holding vigils for Brian. They walked the path from his home to his work. Weeks went by and no one had seen or heard from Brian. They didn't know if he was alive, if he was dead, or what. So eventually the FBI got involved.
Whoa.
And they searched anywhere they thought he might go. Psychics started getting involved. They would show up at his family's home and try to tell them where he was. None of that played out, of course. And Val's Foods actually put up a $25,000 reward of their own money.
Wow.
To try and help encourage people to come forward. Okay. So early into the investigation, blood was found in and around the produce cooler of Val's. Drops, splatters, smears, and a fingerprint. It was confirmed to be Brian's. 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 Part of the blood was confirmed to be Brian's blood, and everyone was trying to figure out how did his blood get here. No one was seen entering or exiting the store after closing hours that day he disappeared. He wasn't seen leaving the store. And this kind of reminded me of the other Brian case, the Brian Schaefer, the one who disappeared inside the bar, and his body was never found. That's what this story reminds me of, because it's very similar. Brian's body has never been found. Okay, and just part of the blood that was in the cooler was his, which I'll talk more about later. But yeah, so
the kid that got picked up going to work at the pizza parlor, that kid.
So the police began to question everyone, including 3 of Brian's coworkers, Shane Lamb, Rob Render, and Mario. Again, Mario is the son of the owner, and Shane and Rob were just other employees. So
Rob was the one that owed him money.
Right. 2 of them had criminal records at the time, which was Shane and Rob. However, police turned their attention to Mario, who had no prior records.
What?
He was 19 at this time, and during the investigation, it was reported that Mario was allegedly selling drugs and that he would coerce some of the employees at Val's to sell for him, like Brian. So Brian was described as being too sweet and wouldn't always collect the money that people owed him. Therefore, he wouldn't always be able to pay Mario the money he owed him. And so they believed that he was killed over a $400 to $500 drug debt he owed to Mario. Now, when I say this, right, there's so many different theories as I talk about what happened and variations of the stories given by so many different witnesses, police, investigators, and it's never solved. So, like, we don't really know which one of these people ended up telling the truth. But anyway, so they thought originally that he was killed because he owed $400 to $500 to Mario. Police really began to dig into Mario even more at this point. However, there was no physical evidence, no body, and at the time, no witnesses. There was very little more that the police could do, and the case ended up going cold. And at that point, of course, the 2 families began to drift apart because Brian's family, thought that Val's, that family was involved. So
were they able to do any DNA at this point? Well, because you said some of the blood.
Were they able to, or did they? Those are 2 very different questions.
Oh.
They were, yes, able to. Did they? We'll talk more about
Negative,
that.
Ghostwriter. Okay.
And so I would like to say that Jillian did say, she was like, they downplayed how much drugs that Mario was dealing. They made it seem like he was just selling to his friends, right? He had extra and he would just sell to his friends.
Like a little weed, a little.
And he even says that in an interview, I'm not a drug, I would sell to my friends or whatever, but she made it seem like he was actually on a much bigger scale.
Oh.
Now, I don't know how true that is. I'm just repeating what was said because she did live there and she knew the family and she knew Mario and stuff. So anyways.
Allegedly,
so
we'll say
allegedly, he was a much bigger deal than he let on in interviews. So when the case went cold, Mario just continued on with his life. He graduated college. He had a business financial type degree, and he began working as the manager of the store. His plans were to open multiple stores, open more locations. However, that came crashing down very rapidly because in 2010, so 8 years after all of this happened, there was a break in the case. Prosecutor Michael Combs brought forward a new witness. Shane Lamb, one of the 3 employees that were originally questioned back when it happened, told the police that he had some information.
Shane and Rob.
Shane, Rob, and Mario were the 3 original suspects. Shane told the police that he had hit Brian a few times and he was bleeding from his mouth. Said he thought he had just knocked him out. The police then asked him, where was Mario while you were doing all of this? To which Shane said he was right there in the doorway. Shane had a criminal history and was described as having grown up in a very rough situation. He had a 5-page rap sheet, which included attempted murder at just 14 years old.
Holy crap. Hold on. That's a...
But I'd like to mind you, Mario was the one that was arrested for all of this, who had no criminal record. So during his initial interviews in 2002, he denied over and over knowing anything at all about the appearance. However, in 2010, he was facing a 12-year prison sentence on cocaine charges, which is when he told the prosecutor he had information on
I'm
Brian's
just selling
case.
drugs,
Yeah.
to my friends. Okay.
No, that's the Shane.
Oh, sorry,
Shane, is one that had 12 years of prison sentence for cocaine, and he told the prosecutor he had information on the Brian case and he wanted a deal. But he wanted immunity from murder, involuntary manslaughter, concealment of a homicide, and then any other charges related to Brian's disappearance and death. The investigators actually granted this request to everyone's dismay. Like, they were so upset that they gave him this deal. So the investigators asked Shane exactly what Mario had asked him to do. Shane said that Mario had wanted him to talk to Brian and intimidate him. He did specify that Mario never came out and said to kill him. He said that he just wanted Brian to talk to him. Shane claims that he was off of work the night that Brian disappeared, and he was at a party getting really high when Mario called him to come to the store. Brian had owed him money and he wanted it back, and he wanted Shane to basically act as the enforcer. Shane claims he got to the store and asked Brian, "What's up with the money you owe Mario? Why haven't you paid him? It's time to pay him." He said that they got into an argument, which is when they went into the produce cooler. Shane said he insisted on getting the money from Brian, but Brian resisted. Shane said he lost his temper and things turned violent. He said he hit Brian a few times and that he had Brian had fallen over and he thought he had knocked him out. Shane said at this point, not knowing if Brian was alive or dead, Mario told Shane to leave the grocery store and told him, "I'll handle this." Then he claims he went back to the party. So that is Shane's version of what happened, okay? Mario's friend Alan Libert had stated that Mario told him Brian owed him drug money and told a friend Shane to scare him, but things got out of hand and Brian died. Mario allegedly said, according to Alan, that his relatives disposed of the body, which was initially buried but later dug up and thrown in a river. Alan claimed that Mario, and other rumors claim that Mario's family chopped up the body at the meat department and disposed of this body. Okay, they made it seem like a whole Italian mob hit on Brian. Okay,
They would have found so much more evidence.
I'm just telling you what was said.
Okay.
So Alan admitted later he had been drinking heavily the night that Mario supposedly confessed the crime to him. He didn't tell the police about the conversation until he was arrested for driving under the influence, but he stated he came forward out of conscience and wasn't offered leniency for his testimony. So again, he was really intoxicated when he gave this supposed statement. So when Mario was on trial for the charges, the judge tossed that whole statement out, ruling that the prosecution had failed to prove its case. There was nothing. Alan was not even at the store. It was just hearsay because he had been arrested. So armed with Shane's version of what happened, Mario gets arrested and charged with the murder. Of Brian's murder. So it was a moment of disbelief for everyone when Mario was arrested because a lot of people actually described Mario as being very caring and family oriented and really wanting to grow the business. He wasn't a troublemaker. Yeah, he sold weed, but he wasn't a mobster. He wasn't a gangster. He wasn't...
Just because he's Italian doesn't mean he was in the mafia.
He wasn't in trouble. He didn't have a rap sheet. He hadn't ever been arrested before. And he wouldn't have killed someone over a couple $100s when his parents owned the grocery. His family had money. So anyways, he was arrested and charged. Everyone was in disbelief. Shane did insist over and over that Mario never laid a hand on Brian and never requested Shane to kill him. He wanted to make that perfectly clear in his statements. And you can, in the 2020 interviews, which you have to watch on YouTube because it's not on TV anymore. Okay. He says that. It's on tape, him saying, he never asked me to kill him. He never asked me to lay a hand on him. He just wanted me to talk to him. So why was Shane not arrested? I don't know. But anyways, the immunity deal. But anyway, so The prosecution charged him with
So
something.
he just felt like hitting him?
Yeah.
Senseless?
Basically
Okay.
said it just turned violent because Brian refused to pay the money. So he lost his temper. Things got violent, like
Right.
on his own. So the prosecution charged Mario with something I hadn't ever heard before.
Ooh.
I don't know if you've ever heard of it before, but it's called murder by intimidation.
Ooh, no.
They claimed just by Mario uttering the words to Shane, "Talk to him," that it was what started the chain reaction leading to Brian's murder. Like if Mario
Do you want me to talk to him or do you want me to talk to him?
Yeah, like if Mario had never called Shane to come to the store and talk to Brian and try to get this money back, the argument never would have happened. Shane never would have gotten physical. They never would have interacted. Brian wouldn't have died. That was their process of being able to charge Mario. So they claimed, again, just by uttering those words, it was what led to his death. Now, they didn't actually know that he was, they don't have a body. There's just blood. But anyways, they assumed that he was murdered. So the charge had never before been used in Illinois because, again, it's a weird charge to say that you saying something to another person, like talk to him, translates to murder him. But anyways, Mario pled not guilty and the case went to trial. After 12 hours, jurors were deadlocked, 11-1 in favor of the prosecution, so it ended up being a hung jury. Prosecutors went after Mario again, vowing to retry him. In this next trial, Shane is again the prime witness. In closing statements, the prosecutor said that Mario had a drug cartel and that him and Shane were little criminal delinquents and that the criminals always flocked together. This time around...
Sorry, I don't know what that is.
Okay. This time around, the jury found him guilty, though. One of the jurors described Mario as looking like a spoiled little rich kid, looks like a gangster or something. He was sentenced to 26 years in prison, and in neither trial did Mario ever get to speak on his behalf. He was never called to the witness stand.
No, he could have chosen to.
There was no, they wouldn't let him. Like his attorney was like, no.
Yeah, because
there was no body. There was no weapon. There was just some blood in a cooler.
I understand the reason that his lawyer said not to.
Yeah.
Just like,
but what I'm saying is, I don't understand how
under cross-examination, it could make him look really bad.
To me, like there's so little evidence on this case. It's just so fucking weird.
It's all circumstantial.
So in the 2020 interview, Mario tells the reporter that it's sad that Brian's family thinks he had anything to do with it, and he hopes that Brian's body is one day found. He went on to say he wasn't a criminal, and no one in his family had ever even been in handcuffs. Mario said that Brian was a loyal employee and that they had a good relationship. He said he worked hard and was one of his favorite coworkers. He said he remembered the day that Brian disappeared. It was around Christmas time, and the store was packed. Brian had shown up around 6:30 and was looking for Robert Render, and he asked Mario if he had seen him. He claims that was the last time that he saw Brian. He said that shortly after this interaction, he, as in Mario, bought a pizza and was eating it in the break room with other employees, and the break room was across the store from the cooler. So like the cooler was over here and the break room was on the other side. Mario then went on to say he closed the store as usual at 8, but both prosecutor and defense attorneys believe that Brian was killed before the store ever closed. To me, I don't understand why Rob was never arrested because like so many people brought up Rob's name and Brian was specifically there looking for him. But anyways, Mario's family. So at this point, Mario's been in prison, right? He's been arrested. He was in the same prison as, oh my gosh, Gary the clown. You know who I'm talking about. I cannot think for the life of me right now. Do you not know who I'm talking about? Mm-mm. Oh my God, you did his story on him.
John Wayne Gacy?
Yeah, John Wayne Gacy. There we go.
You said Gary.
I know.
I was like,
my
Gary.
God, listen, my brain is so fried.
Oh, yeah.
He was in the same prison as him.
I know.
Okay.
You keep talking. I'm going to get some Tylenol. My head hurts.
Okay. So Mario's family hired attorney Kathleen Zellner to appeal this trial. She had a reputation for overturning cases she believed the trail of evidence she found would set him free. She believed the evidence led to Robert Render, as we mentioned.
There was no trail of evidence, though.
Oh, there was. It just wasn't put into trial. It was not even, some of it was not even brought up. So she believed that the evidence led to Robert Render. As we mentioned before, he was one of the 3 original suspects and who Brian had been looking for the day he disappeared. Rob was another very troubled soul, described as being into a lot of drugs. He was just a bad kid. Kathleen discovered that in the produce cooler, there was more than just Brian's blood found. There were drops of Rob's blood as well. His blood was the only other blood ever found in the cooler other than Brian's. For Kathleen, the crime scene photos, it seemed it was pretty obvious what had happened. Rob and Brian had gotten into an altercation. Brian's blood could be seen outside the cooler. Like when you walked in, there was like a little walkway and then the actual cooler. When questioned, he again told the police he didn't do anything. He didn't know anything. They asked him if he wasn't there, why was his blood there? And his excuse was, maybe I cut myself at work. Maybe I bit my nail so bad, because I do that it bled everywhere. I put my thumb on the door. Kathleen determined that there was no way the amount of blood could have been left by someone who was biting their nails. Kathleen also pointed out that Rob had a clear motive of wanting Brian dead. Brian had recently turned Rob in for stealing liquor from the store and ridiculed him for being weak. And according to another employee, Rob was in debt to Brian for the weed. So she goes on to say he had plenty of opportunity. The night that Brian disappeared, Rob was working, but employees say he disappeared for 2 hours and wasn't seen by anyone. His excuse was, I was probably stoned. I was 17 years old. That's all I ever did. But I never ever left work. Maybe they were looking for me and they couldn't find me. Maybe I was stuck in the aisle somewhere. Maybe, maybe I went on break. I'm telling you, I never left the store. If that doesn't scream, I murdered somebody.
I was stoned. I don't know.
I just feel like they just were so laser focused on Mario for some 100%. Reason that they just totally ignored all this other stuff. Because if she found it, how could they not have found it years earlier? Because at this point, Mario has been in prison.
Well,
he's already been sentenced.
But it also sounds like the way that they describe Mario is just actually kind of racist. He's, he's a gangster. Like, come on. Yeah. He's Italian and...
So police say a witness told them Rob told them the night that Brian disappeared there was a fight in the cooler, and the statement is what led police to the cooler. In the police interview, they tell Rob, honestly, that's what led us to the cooler was your statement to a fellow coworker. The police go on to say that no one else had mentioned the produce cooler that night or anything about a fight, and Kathleen believed only the killer would have known about it. Kathleen said it was apparent that Rob had tried to cover his tracks. He volunteered to mop up the produce cooler that night and was on scene the next morning when a coworker noticed a pool of red-tinted water. According to the owner,
it's blood.
He thought a drink had spilled because it was like diluted.
It's diluted. It didn't look
like. So he had asked an employee to clean it up without thinking anything about it. So Kathleen also found a new witness that said Rob had made a statement to him a couple of weeks before Brian disappeared.
And if Mario had said that, he said he had someone clean up. His
father.
dad.
His father. Yeah. Kathleen said that a new witness had said that Rob had made a statement to him a couple of weeks before Brian disappeared that he was very angry with Brian and he was going to jump him with a weapon. Kathleen said that would match what she believes actually happened in the cooler, that the fatal blow to Brian wasn't a punch like Shane led people to believe, but from a knife. She believes that Rob went up behind Brian and slit his throat, in the process cut himself. Then when Brian started to fall forward, that's when Rob grabbed the door handle to keep him from hitting it, like from getting out. He then pushed him, which is how the blood transferred to some of the boxes in the walkway. And there was crime scene photos that backed like this up. You could see what she was talking about in the photos. So acting on a tip from the same witness, Kathleen had a team of investigators comb through the police photos and other evidence. One piece of evidence that was found was a picture of a pair of soiled underwear that had a brownish red color. Kathleen believed that it was blood. A stock boy at Val's had gone into the ladies' bathroom a month after Brian disappeared and saw there was a leak in the bathroom coming from a ceiling tile. He stepped up on the toilet, lifted the panel, and found the pair of men's underwear. The underwear was the same size that Rob wore. While the evidence was handed into police at the time, Kathleen said it was never entered into the police log and never made it to trial. She said that was a huge bombshell and wanted to have it tested for DNA. Prosecutor Combs did state that they had never tested or entered the underwear into evidence, but did state the police and the witness were available to Mario's lawyer before his trial.
But why would his underwear be up there?
That's what I don't know.
Like, that seems strange.
So there's so much as you go on through
Did
the story.
Did he rape him or what? I mean, like, seriously.
The more you go through the story, and I'm like not even done. It's like these stories don't make sense. Why? Like, if the blood was only on his underwear, why would he hide his underwear? Why would, like, no one's going to see that at work?
Maybe he wore, like, the baggy pants, and so it was like that's what was showing, and it was right there. I don't know. That's dumb. Just his underwear?
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so I don't know. It never stated why it was there. Okay, but the prosecutor did claim that Mario's lawyer knew about this supposedly before trial. At the initial time of the disappearance, Rob was not initially let go scot-free. He was charged with concealing Brian's murder, but this charge got dropped, and he was never called to testify in any of Mario's trials.
I'm like flipping a table right now. Jesus.
Rob Render was never brought to trial at any point, even with the new evidence in Mario's appeals and new trials, because before they could arrest him and try him based on evidence found by Kathleen, he overdosed on drugs at the age of 26. He died in 2012, months before Mario's second trial. It was around this time their key witness, Shane Lamb, recanted his entire testimony and said he had lied under oath. All of it was false. Every single thing I said. The state's attorney set it up, Shane Lamb told 2020 in an exclusive interview from prison. Lamb said he sat alone with prosecutor Michael Combs for an hour while Combs fed him what to say. He said, Lamb said that Combs was determined that someone take the fall for Brian's disappearance, and at the time, prosecutors were talking to him and another stock boy who worked at Val's Food in 2012. Shane was led to believe that they had arrested Rob and that Rob was going to be offered the same deal, and if Rob took it first, Shane would go to prison and wouldn't get the immunity and all of that. And so, yeah. So Shane said that Rob Render was in Lake County Jail, and if I didn't want to talk to them, that they were going to go talk to Rob Render next, Lamb said, adding that he thought that meant the prosecutors were going to offer this immunity deal to Rob next. In regards to Shane saying Assistant State's Attorney Michael Combs coached him, Combs told in an interview in a statement, Mr. Lamb's allegations that I coached him for an hour and then brought his attorney into the room and turned on a camera. I find it hard to believe that any attorney would just allow me an hour with a witness to coach him and then come in the room just as the camera is turned on. It is unworthy of belief, untrue, and too far-fetched. But is it because you're getting his client out of trouble? So it's not really that weird to me. But anyways, at the time, Mario was still in prison. When told that Shane recanted his statements, Mario said, I'm happy that Shane is finally telling the truth. I wish he would have done it at trial so that I wouldn't have been subject to this, because this changes your whole life. Again, at this point, he's still in prison. He'd been in prison for a pretty long time. So in September 2015, Mario's conviction was finally overturned.
13 years. Wow.
In September 2015, Mario's conviction was overturned by the Illinois appeal court. They ruled that the state's evidence was so unreasonable, improbable, and unsatisfactory that a reasonable doubt exists. Mario was released from prison and actually now works as an attorney. He told a reporter the day after he was released, I'm not an angry person. I just want to prevent this from happening to the next person. He shouldn't have even gotten 1 year. His sister Julie said he's innocent. There was no physical evidence, no DNA, no witness, and no motive. Mario stated in another interview that he wanted prosecutors to be held accountable for cases like his.
Yes.
A prosecutor can frame somebody that he just happens not to like and there's no problem with it. Not a slap on the wrist. He just moves on to the next guy. He also claims he still wonders what really happened to Brian all the time. It's one of those questions that you're saving to ask God, other than what's the meaning of life. Mario received a $50,000 settlement from McHenry County State's Attorney's Office. However, the office declined to provide Mario with an official certification of innocence, and they have stood behind their case against Mario this entire time.
Oh, come on. So is Shane saying, now he's in prison, is he saying that Rob did it?
No, he was just saying he lied about what he said about Mario.
Okay.
So Mario also settled with the village of Johnsburg for an undisclosed amount for failure to intervene in misconduct. So at this time, Mario is 41. He went on to be a Chicago-based defense lawyer specializing in civil rights, including claims of wrongful convictions. He also works with the Cook County Public Defender's Office in the post-conviction unit. In 2017, Shane Lamb sued members of the McHenry County State's Office, Johnsburg Police Chief Keith Von Allman, and the city of Johnsburg, claiming rights were violated in connection with his 2010 agreement to testify at Mario's trial. That lawsuit was dismissed by a judge in 2018.
Oh.
Shane Lamb was released in 2021 from the Murfreesboro Life Skills Reentry Center, Illinois Department of Corrections, where he was serving time on a theft charge. He served 6 years of that 20-year term. He had originally been scheduled to be up for parole in 2024. The case of Brian's disappearance is still unsolved. His body hasn't been found. There have been no further suspects that have been arrested. Brian's mother unfortunately died in 2009 and his father died in 2014. But the rest of his family is still alive and they're looking for resolution in his disappearance. Obviously, foul play is suspected. And the case is still open. But what gets me is like, did the three kids work together and they just told these crazy stories so that there wasn't a reasonable doubt for all three of them? Like, because none of their stories lined up. So how could a jury?
I feel like that is too smart.
Well, Shane at a later point said that Mario said that Shane told him the reason he threw him under the bus is because they were going to charge the both of us and your family has money to hire a lawyer. So I never thought you were going to go to jail when I said those things. I thought that I would get immunity and they would let you go. Like, he thought that like Mario's family would
have a great lawyer, and so he would never see a day of jail.
Like, that's what Shane had told to Mario at one point in between the trials. Obviously, that wasn't the case. Mario went to prison, and Shane didn't recant his statements until, like, years later.
Way later.
And
that's probably it was after Rob died. Maybe he was a little afraid of Rob.
Maybe. I don't know. But then, like, my question is if Mario closed the store, right? Like, how would either of the other two people get the body out of the store to hide the body if no one came in or out of the store after the store was closed? And where did they hide the body until the store was closed? Somebody would have had to take that body out of the store. Like, he was a 135-pound teenager. And, like, these were all teenagers. So, like, it's just weird to me. Like, where did the body go? How did they get that body out of the store? If it was before the store closed, like the police say, how did nobody, not anyone that was shopping there or working there, notice someone carrying a body?
I mean, it could be, and I've seen way too many movies, so I'm just like, how could one? And I'm trying to be
not raise suspicion,
So I'm trying to be like a dumb high teenager. These are the closing hours of a store. These are the closing employees of a store, right? So what are the things that you have to do when you close a store? I used to work at a grocery store, so you have to take out the trash. And he was kind of a small dude.
That's true.
So,
but then why wasn't his body ever found in the landfill?
What if they went back for it? What if they put him in the dumpster and then came back at a later time and got the body?
Just
Rob and
Shane, or Mario, or what? Like I feel like more than just one person was involved.
I don't think that it was I don't think it was planned. I think that they cleaned up.
My question is, why would Shane admit to like punching him and thinking he killed him in the cooler? How did he know about the cooler? If only the killer would know about the cooler, because he said something about the cooler and Rob said something about the cooler.
I mean,
and Mario was the only one that had keys to the store out of the three of them. At one point, Mario said,
who was like the manager on charge?
Mario.
I thought he was just a stock boy.
No, he was a manager though.
Oh, he was a manager.
But like, either way, right? Regardless of who the manager is, Mario closed the store.
But I'm saying, like, as a manager, you know when your employees leave. You don't, like...
Well, Rob was missing for 2 hours, and nobody knew where he was. No, they were all friends. They were all teenagers. Well, you're not going to rat out another... You know what I'm saying?
So he's gone for 2 hours and no...
He claims he was stoned. He doesn't know where he was. He said he may have been stuck in an aisle. He was gone for 2 hours. Mario was supposedly in the break room eating pizza with coworkers, and Shane was getting high at a party. Shane says he was called back to the store to handle this situation, and Mario stood in the doorway. But, like, why would you do this at the store where there could be witnesses? You know, like, it's just weird. None of their stories make any sense. None of them line up. Like...
There's truth somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's crazy. That's a crazy story.
But, yeah, his body still has never been found. At all. Like, where did that body go? To me, I don't get it. I don't get...
Did they search landfill?
They've never found the body.
But I would assume. They search? Well, did they search...
They searched the rivers, as far as I know. Because
did they search the trash cans? I mean, did they search that stuff? Did they search, like...
It seemed like they were pretty laser focused on Mario, so who knows what they did.
I know, like, body... parts in the like butcher aisle.
Did say that Shane's blood was not found in the cooler, so the fact that he would make up the story of punching him and like I just don't understand why he like
I don't understand the underwear.
Yeah, I don't understand the underwear either, even though it was Rob's. Like, I don't get it. I don't get why his underwear, like, why would you put it in the ceiling tile of the ladies' restroom and never remove it after you've been cleared of suspicion? Like, were you just high?
So high.
I mean, like, I've been high before, and I've never wanted to kill someone and hide a body. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe it was poop.
No, it was blood.
He was embarrassed.
They did determine it was blood, and it was
poop.
But, like, I don't get it. None of this makes any sense to me. If you live there and it makes sense to you and you think you know it, like, please share your thoughts and opinions, because I don't live there. This story does not make sense to me. No, I think all three of them should have been tried equally.
Yeah.
I think all three. I don't think any of them should have been granted immunity. And I do not get why Rob was not initially charged.
I don't get that either.
Or why he wasn't brought to trial. Because he had a long-ass rap sheet, just like
Shane.
I mean, Shane was arrested for attempted murder at 14.
At 14. So,
like, I feel
5-page long rap sheet.
And Rob is the only one out of the three of them that had a motive.
Yeah.
Brian had ratted him out for stealing liquor and had called him weak.
And he had said...
And owed him money.
And had said he was going to attack him, jump him with a weapon. I mean, he had a plan.
He had motive. He had a plan. He was missing. Like, I don't understand... Was he an informant for police? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But we'll never know because he overdosed at 26. So
excuse me. Well, that is a crazy story. If I'm so interested to hear if anyone else has any theories. Like, did our listener have any theories other than she really thinks like it was Mario and the other two? Well,
she said that Mario definitely was a bigger like drug dealer. She said, I don't know if this is super important, but the majority of people from Johnsburg know Mario was a way bigger drug dealer than he was saying. Even Brian's brother Eddie spoke freely about it and how Mario told Shane Lamb to rough Brian up. Unfortunately, with Brian's heart condition, it turned ugly. I did forget to mention that. I'm so sorry. That is a big part. Brian did have a heart condition. So when he went missing, that was even a big thing. Like, he would need his medication. So it would have been possible if Shane was beating him up that he had a complication. But again, Shane's blood is not what was found in the cooler, Rob's blood. So did they tag team him? Like, and only Rob got injured? Because, like, to me, it just seems weird that only one person could pull this whole thing off. Like, you're going to bring him into the cooler. You're going to fight him, kill him, hide his body until you get off work or whatever. Disappear for 2 hours and get rid of the body. Like, it just seems... And then clean up the entire mess without anyone seeing you. Like, no one else walked into the produce cooler while you're mopping up the floor and cleaning up the blood and cleaning up yourself.
If it was a heart issue, if it was a heart attack, there wouldn't have been blood. It wasn't a gun. It wasn't a knife.
There was a lot of blood from Brian in the cooler. There was...
From, like...
There was, like, blood. So he was definitely injured. And there was so much blood that they concluded he had been murdered, even without the body. So, like, something happened to him. And I just feel like it wasn't a one-person job. And I feel like all three of these people were lying. But, yeah, she did say that that was one thing.
Homicide by intimidation. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Wow. But anyway,
she said that it was definitely, she calls it a small town mystery, and I agree. It's not a very big town. And again, there was only one grocery store, so you know.
That is small.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is small. Like, I'm not talking shit. Like, that is small. And so, yeah, to this day, there have been no updates in the case.
I have 3 that I go to frequently. 4, actually, that I go to frequently.
But yeah, the case has still not been solved. Again, no suspects, no weapons, no body.
Wow.
So.
Wow. No body, no crime. But and yet Mario spent all those years. Wow. Well, that was a good one.
Yeah.
That's going to keep me thinking. That's going to be a thinker.
I know. Anyways, in the show notes, I've included links to the 2020 episodes and the articles that I read. But if you want to watch the episodes, you can find it on YouTube, and I definitely recommend it. It has a lot of interviews with Shane and Rob, and then it interviews Mario while he's still in prison. That was prior to his trial where he got released. Okay. But there is another 2020 episode afterwards.
All right.
But anyways, that's what I got.
Well, thank you, everybody. We will be back next week. I have no idea what I'm doing a story on, so it's going to be as much of a surprise to you as it is to me. Yay! All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.